Let's take a look at Dogecoin. The last time I looked at Dogecoin was on September the 21st. Here is a recap. So there's a very good indication that we may have a double bottom. So in the near term, the 19.9 cents likely be the bottom for now. Dogecoin would likely stabilizing and then potentially run up to about the 24 cents where it will retest the resistance of this downward channel. Looking at the stochastic oscillator, the momentum is not there, but Doge is right now is in this oversold territory, and the blue signal line just crossed over and leaped the red line. So that is a positive indicator. The possibility for this temporary bottom is very high. Those would likely trend up. The question is whether or not those could find enough buying support to cross over this resistance and trend higher. All of that is really depend on whether or not we could see the volume pick up. And the second thing is, given the fact right now there isn't any upcoming catalyst for Dogecoin. Dogecoin tend to mirror the performance of Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin were to trend up, then there's a very high probability that those could follow. However, if Bitcoin were to retrace, then there's a chance that those could eventually retest the support of this downward channel. Fast forward, this is the daily chart for Doge, and the data I have is 2:09 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on September the 26th. So last time when I look at Doge was on the 21st, right at this point. I predicted that Doge would stabilize and bounce up, and that's exactly what it did. I was expecting some sort of buying support that Doge would be able to eventually reach the resistance of this downward channel at around 24 cents. But unfortunately, when Doge ran up and retested the 10 days moving average, it got rejected. And this has a lot to do with the fact that the biggest problem I see with Doge right now is still very low volume. There are not a lot of buying support. It seems like the buyer are still waiting on the sideline. And the next day, Doge tried to retest the 10 days again it get rejected. And then unfortunately after that, Bitcoin dropped and that dragged Doge down with it. Now, if we look at this comparison chart between Bitcoin and Dogecoin, Bitcoin trended up, so Doge followed. But the minute Doge tested the 10 days, it got rejected. Very similar to Bitcoin. Bitcoin get rejected every time when it tested the 10 days, and then Bitcoin retraced. Doge dropped. Today, Bitcoin is up about 1.5%. Those rebound, but it's still trending lower. Right now, Doge is down by about 1%. So the problem with Doge is when Bitcoin retraced, Doge retraced. But the minute Bitcoin rebounds, Doge doesn't seem to be able to bounce up like other altcoins. For an example, look at Solana. When Bitcoin bounced up, Solana bounced up big time. When Bitcoin retraced, that drags Solana down with it. But the minute Bitcoin bounced up, Solana bounced up by a much higher percentage of increase. Right now, Solana is up about 2.5%, while Bitcoin is up about 1.5%. So this altcoin been able to either match or exceed the performance of Bitcoin when Bitcoin stabilized and trend up. And that is something that we haven't seen with Dogecoin. Switch over to the 1-hour chart. Volume continues to be a problem. Volume is very, very light. We need to see volume starting to pick up. When Bitcoin crashed, Doge dropped from about 32 cents all the way down to 22 cents. And since then, it's been oscillate or gravitate within this downward channel. It continued to create this lower low. Every time when Bitcoin dropped, Doge set up another lower low. Another thing we also see is at 32 cents. And after that, Doge continue to set this higher low. Now, if we connect all of the high point from this high point, connect to this high point and connect all the way to that, that would give us the resistance that Doge need to cross over. And now connect all this low point. Essentially, what we have now is Doge is also forming this falling wedge. And something to look forward to is normally when there is a downtrend and a falling wedge appear, this tends to indicate a possible reversal in price. So if we look at this pattern, so far, even though those continue to create this lower low, but the price seemed to stabilize right at around this point, which is around the 20 cents. Every time when the price dropped below that, it tends to find some support and bounce right back up. And now Doge is getting very close to the apex. So it is just a matter of time before we see Doge either break to the upside or drop to the downside. Switch over to the daily chart. This is our falling wedge. Let's look at some of the indicators. Volume continued to be low. But if we look at the volume action for the past 7 days, it is actually increasing. It is more than the prior 10 days. Now that is a good sign. But we still need the volume to increase even more. The stochastic oscillator is definitely showing that Doge is in this way oversold. The Bollinger Band continue to contract. And lastly, the price actions over the past 7 days showed that this 20 cents seems to provide a very strong support every time when the price dropped below that. The same day, buyers step in and helped to push the price up. So Doge ended up closing the day over this 20 cents. So this seemed like a very strong baseline support. All of these indicators are pointing to a very high probability that I believe Doge could be able to break out of this falling wedge and stage a temporarily recovery in price. However, for that to happen, Bitcoin has to stabilize and trend higher. Because if Bitcoin were to continue to retrace, then all probability is those would follow and drop even further. So I hope that is not going to be the case. In summary, Doge is looking bad right now, but there is a very good probability that this could be the bottom, and then we would likely see a reversal in price. The key for us to look for is when those trade over 22 cents, which is also above this 10 days moving average. If that were to happen, then that would confirm this breakout of this falling wedge. Then the next target for those to run up to is 23.3 cents, and then 26 cents, and then eventually reach 32 cents, which is the prior high. And also at that prior high, that is when those started forming this falling wedge. So for now, let's hang tight and hope that those can find some buying support to move up to the 22 cents and then stabilize over that. That's it for this video, and don't forget to click that like button and reward me with a like if you appreciate the content that I'm presenting. Also, if you are new to my channel, don't forget to click that subscribe button and subscribe. And make sure you turn notification on. And if you have Twitter, make sure you follow me at Vietmaxim, because I provide constant update on all of our favorite cryptos.